Oh my god, no! 38 villagers! There's not even enough room for them to build this! Are you ready, kids? Because it's time for Lenok versus Darius. And here we go, straight into Hill and Dale for some French on English. That's why I picked it, by the way. You know, I saw it was live. I got in. I took a ganders. And I noticed that this doesn't look right. This isn't what you pick in Hill and Dale. Disgusting. And I love disgusting. Let's see what we've got in mind here. What's the aggression going to be? Because we have got double tempo Civ here. English and French, probably still the two civs that come to mind when you say, I want to control the early mid-game. But who is going to have the iron grip around the other's gonads in this one? Because, you know, both these players, very talented. Lenok, needs no intro. We know who he is. Darius, he's been creeping up. You know, Darius has definitely shown some potential. I think we maybe cast him here once or twice before. At the time of recording, he's currently 24th on the leaderboard. Diamond 2, baby. Harder than most of us will ever be able to achieve. And with a 66% win rate, he's fairly stable there. And for reference, before you're like, hey, he's only 24th. That's not really impressive. Folks, that's pretty damn impressive. I mean, Kaz was 32nd. B is 29th. Pilot Elf, the unbeatable. Okay, he's 26 right now. The point is that there's a lot of pro players that are actually below him. So don't undersell this guy. Don't underrate how good he is. By the way, big shout out to, just looking down these leaderboards quickly, Puppy Paw with the 6th and 7th place. Most people choose to commit to a main account. Not good old Puppy Paw. But no, here, I believe Lenok and Darius have been grinding only one account on the rank ladder right now. I believe Lenok is actually the 3rd player. Yeah, he was the 3rd player to actually crack up into Conqueror, so big congrats to him. That means he's like 2nd place loser on the race to Conqueror. For those wondering who got it first, it was, of course, Beastie. I'm just excited to see who's going to come up next. Like, who's going to be the tippity top in a week? Because, you know, it's all well and good cracking at first. That just shows that you didn't touch any grass recently. It's holding on to it that's the real challenge. So, opening-wise, Lenok hasn't really fully boosted the farms yet. I think he actually... Oh, what? Huh? That's an interesting farm placement, Bigley. Huh. So I guess he's not going for the new format. It's weird, actually. I feel like the new format does have a lot of sense to it. For those who don't know what I'm talking about, there's been a recent emergence via, I believe Vortex was the first one to do it. He was doing it a lot on Altai because it's very space-saving as well, where what you do is you plop the mill, 1 to the right here, so that you could put a farm around the size of your TC and then 2 on this side here. The whole logic behind this, by the way, is that you actually end up gathering, I think it's about 8 extra food after 8 minutes. Ooh, I know, it's a lot. It's still extra though, right? So it's actually, over time, it adds up. You do benefit more from this. And the reason it works that way is because you'll notice these villagers, if we watch them on the whole trek through, they don't actually go all the way around the farm. They only do part of the farm. So it's actually efficient to keep them closer to a drop-off point. On top of that, it actually also keeps your villagers closer to a garrison point and condenses your base efficiently. Meaning, if you're on budget maps where you're playing, say, Altai or Hill and Dale, and you have limited space in your base, you're not throwing away a giant chunk of it at a very spread out farmland area. So instead, looks like actually Lenok's still a big fan of the alternative build. This is the 10 farm slot build. So the whole logic of this one is because the mill influence, you want to stay in it as you get the bonus on the gathering rates for any farms underneath it. You build 4 on the outros here and then 2 to bridge in between. Whereas other players, if they just go by these squares, you end up only getting 8 underneath this usually. Darius. Yeah, boy, get them shivs out. Oh, man. Honestly, sometimes these shivs look a lot more lethal than you think. Like, these guys, they've only just got measly little shivs. Sometimes, I swear, it looks like the villagers are carrying meat cleavers. Like, they really came to do business. So the question is whether we're going to get the multi-TC builds, because that is something that is open to the French especially. We have seen it out of other pro players already. Most notably, I think, on the newest patch, Viper comes to mind. If you haven't already, there's going to be a video up for that. you know, 2 TC is a throw, folks, of the French. I don't know if you're familiar with this. It was actually said by biggest LAN winner in Age of Empires 4 that 2 town centers is bad, as the French. What he didn't mention, the detail he kept back to keep his own secret strat, is that anything more is good. So 3 TCs, 4 TCs. In fact, the video's going to be coming out soon. I believe we had a 4 town center French on Hill and Dale. It's definitely the type of map you can get away with that level of greed. Really comes down to whether your opponent's keeping vision, though. It would be risky against a player like Lenok, who is good at maintaining vision, who's also on a Civ that can aggress you like the English, though. So we'll see if that's the option he chooses to go towards. It looks like it is, though. Hard onto the stone, 7 people tapping away, and that is instantly revealed. So Lenok, almost complete on the tech up. If he wants, he can start pushing forces, and it looks like that's where he's going. Rax and the Council Hall. It's time to get frisky. Question is Darius actually going to buffer himself for defenses? Because the problem right now is Darius, he could be perceived as greedy if he stops at 1 knight here. He's good enough to push away the scout, but the vision's already maintained, right? So you haven't actually done a great job of eliminating this. This is something that is to the credit of a lot of English players right now, some that have identified that they weren't doing before. It's worth sacrificing 1 villager production to maintain constant vision on your opponent. And the frustration for a French player in this situation is at this stage, you're not going to have enough knights to chase him away. In fact, knights cannot kill scouts. Only horsemen can. And in this case, Darius hasn't really identified that. He could easily went for 1 horseman, chased away the scout, and kept this hidden. But instead, Lenok, it's a full snitch. He has the full info. He sees exactly what the TC is, and he knows exactly the timing. And Rax already starting to produce in this spearman. So a few spearmen will come out. Probably some man-at-arms in the mixer as well. And Darius, that's when things get a little bit irksome in his base. Remember that he's stunting his ability to actually produce an army by going with his secondary TC. Like, you're going to put your eco under a higher burden, right? The whole logic is this investment in town center is going to take a little bit of time to pay off, because now you've got an additional drain on your eco of 50 food every 17 seconds. Double archery range. My, oh my. Darius is feeling ambitious about what he can afford here. Question is whether Lenok is going to stop producing spears. A few should be good enough. I really feel like man-at-arms after that is a good investment if you're looking for this high-tempo timing. What are the alternatives in this situation for Lenok? Well, he could choose to wall himself in and then go secondary TC himself. I think you're going to be a lot more exposed if you do so, though. Naturally, as the English, you want to create a giant chunk of farmland, just because that's where you get your efficient gathering rates. And if you aren't able to wall yourself in and contain yourself, you're just going to get raided by French knights. And although you aren't experiencing high pressure on the French knight count right now from Darius, like, you're going to allow him to freely reach that if you let off the brakes at any stage. Or let off the acceleration. Don't go on the brakes, folks. Right now, this is actually wasting so much least time, though. Overall, I'm feeling pretty confident about Darius' state of game. Although that might now be changing. Double racks. And yeah, he is going for it. So it's going to be the early man-at-arms. Remember, this is a very cheap upgrade. Only 100 resources. Adds quite a lot of effective HP to your units as well. Increases their armor by 1. Gives them an extra 20 health. A little bit of extra damage. I believe it's an extra 2, in fact. Definitely worth getting. And this is the popular build right now. This is why the English have been surging popularity. Shout out to both the Muslim and Viper for really leading the way with this when the patch dropped, as they were the ones that whipped it out in competitive and made it look so ridiculously dominant. And since then, everyone's been playing it. In fact, this is the most played Civ. At the highest level played, being over 1600 elo, in quick match right now, English have a vast lead in pick over any other Civ at 22.9% of the total pick rate. The second place closest is the Abbasids at 14.4. That's insane. That is a ridiculous turnaround. Now, we expected this at low levels. I mean, the English and the French have always been quite dominant at lower elos. But the high elo, for this abrupt change, with the English being so dominant, it speaks volumes to their tempo aggression now. Like, this is very much an aggressive Civ once again. And it also has been one of the biggest benefactors of the Mangonel nerfs, because this is not a Civ that naturally wants to go into siege. Usually, when you're talking about matching up against things like the Abbasids, it used to be a very detrimental matchup after the buffs to the Abbasid dynasty because of their ability to quickly rush up in a castle and boom siege. Now, with the diminished value in that unit, I feel like the English have been the biggest benefactor. In conjunction with the Mangonels being nerfed, ranged ratios have become higher, right? Like, actually, usually you're looking at about a 30 to 70 ratio range to melee now. We're back to that standard. And in that standard, the English are going to reign supreme because their Lombos have such supreme range over most other units available. Archers trying to hold him back. Longbow count is pretty decent right now, though. I don't think Darius can take this fight yet. He won't be able to stop the outpost. I like how Lenok, like typical English people there, they get in a queue and they wait, right? There's 2 villagers standing there waiting to do their business, like, oh, well, wait. Person ahead of you's not done yet. That means Darius is going to have some problems here because Lenok, I wonder if he is a proxy-based fan. Now, remember, we did cast a game a few days ago where Lenok faced off against the English. It was a reverse this on Hill and Dale. And what Viper done against him is he built proxy racks right next to his base after he got the outpost up. This is an option available to Lenok after the second outpost, and it gives him a quick reinforcement point. It also allows him to knee-jerk react to whatever Darius does. If he goes to more archery ranges or goes for additional stables, he can instantly get the counter out on the front line. Right now, might not even be a case that Lenok needs that right now. I mean, Darius, he needs some sort of reprieve. He walls himself into the north, but this just feels like wasted idle time. There's no logical situation in which Lenok wraps around here because he's building a static force. One of the biggest weaknesses of the English is they have an inability to flex the angle they approach from. What I mean by that is when you try to assault a base as the English, because you build infantry, you don't really want to wrap around to the east side unless you've got outposts in place. That's the nice thing about playing against the English. I say the nice thing, they're pretty oppressive right now. But in general, like the genuine thing that they tend to do is they reveal their path, which is what was happening with Lenok right now. 1 outpost, 2 outposts, 3 outposts. You already see where he's going. There's no way he flanks to the west here. There's no way he comes back around and comes in from the north either. However, the upside of this predictability is it does give you a lot of strength. Arislit's upgrades coming in place. Has got the network of castles as well. Your boy Lee's about to be juiced. Darius, if he's not careful, might get rinsed because the concern at this rate is second TC. It is going to drain your initial resources quite quick, and that's why he builds out here. You can see he's prepping the walls. He's going to need extension down here. The good news for him is because Lenok did go to the right side, he's unlikely to raid any sort of proxy eco lines in the west. And he's still getting around. Lenok wiggling his way towards that wood line, and Darius is a good thing he did carve up this area because he's going to need it soon. Lombow's reaching in the outpost. Darius, you can't react like this. The greed, and now the punishment. Several villagers being sniped down here. Archers unable to get in range either. The attack speed buffer is just there, and this is the ridiculous factor, folks. Like, how far do you think the attack speed buff reaches? Like, how wide do you think the radius is for the network of castles here? Archery range, maybe? House? Lumber camp? I'll show you in a second. Let's watch this fight first of all. Man-at-arms moving in. They're going to dish out decent damage here, chasing them away. And the archers, and then this is the problem, you just have to pepper down the hedgehogs here. That's what they're turning into. These man-at-arms so damn bulky. 4 ranged missile resistance with 120 health. Good luck. And look what Lenok does. He doesn't even prioritize the archers now. He goes after the villagers trying to garrison in. Several falling again. More archers being brought down. Darius, although he can afford to lose a few villagers, this is a few too many. In fact, he still has the eco lead for the moment. But how much idle economy do you have right now? You've got 18 garrison villages, a bunch running over the north, and you can't afford to forfeit this north because you're gathering berries up here as well. And I think Lenok realizes that. He reaches in again, gets another. Still no textiles. No intent to go textiles either. It's a little bit too late. Lenok, he might lose these longbowmen, but you know what you can do. He can chase through. He's going to force him. Darius actually has to go idle with the villagers. Lenok will in the end lose his troops, but overall, like, decent damage done here. Mitigates a lot of the lead that's been built up. Forces defenses to go up. Idle eco as well. Lenok does need to get back in the offensive, though. Throwing away the longbowman may have been a little bit too ambitious. I think he was overconfident about the state of his game. And thus, left himself a little bit punishable. So here we go. Let's go back to the range and network of castles. You had enough time to think about it. You even had some previews when you saw the gold aura. Here's the radius. Seem reasonable to you? This closest outpost reaches all the way back to the archer range. That is, what, Maganel range? I'm pretty sure that's like Maganel range. Maybe higher. I think that's 10 tower range, right? Wish there was actually a way to show the grids. But it is a substantial range, folks. And that's what makes this so frustrating. It's very hard to take a good trade with an English player if he gets this initial outpost down. That's the critical detail. Allow the first one to go down, and the rest are going to follow because he can take good trades as he crawls out. And that's the efficient thing about what Lenok done here. He wasn't greedy. He actually condensed this quite nicely, and this is the power play. Like, a lot of English players, the mistake they might make when they go for this play is they'll drop an outpost here, and they'll drop another one here, and they'll drop one over here. They're out of attack speed range. They're optimal in terms of, like, you know, you're getting more attack speed spread for that one area. It's less wood investment, but it's also less defendable. Speed those defenses. Darius, they opt for the baton ram. Double baton ram built up by Lenok, but Lenok, the problem he's now encountered here is he kind of threw away too many troops. Archer count is looking very healthy, up at 26, and Lenok, because he has to push the longbowman from back at base, not only is it a slow-moving unit, but it's only 2 archery ranges worth of production, and oh no, while he's doing this, Darius! He moves in. Villagers being sniped out. Nice move by the French player here. We'll be able to garrison the rest just in time, but doesn't have the spin when reacting. Remember, he's gone hard into the man-at-arms now because he's up against so many archers. That means just a small quantity of knights are doing so much damage. Lenok's still not reacting. And now back up to a 21 eco lead for Darius. Darius, if he survives this assault, Lenok is going to be miles behind. That's why Lee moves in. Look at the movement. The man-at-arms shifted across so quickly once they get in charge range. It's going to be Peppa Pig down. Ram gets burnt to the ground. Attack speed buff is still here, though. Look at the location. Remember, this also does affect the rams. So instead of waiting for 5 seconds for each ram in, it's 4.36 seconds. Sizable booster to the DPS. Now man-at-arms going to keep chasing him at bay. A few longbowmen trying to pick him apart. Range better, a little bit too strong here. Lenok, it's a pricey investment. 120 resources per man-at-arms, and it takes him so long to gap close. A good front line, but nothing without a back line to support them. And these rams starting to get through the infrastructure. If Lenok's plan is to pop cap his opponent, he's got a long way to go. And this damage, it feels mostly superficial. I mean, you get rid of an archery range, he's already got 2 more at the back, and now the triple stable drop. Uh-oh. This just got ugly. Lenok, he needed more value than this. This is nowhere near good enough. He's going to lose both of the rams on the exit as well. So minus 300 wood, minus 300 wood. And they killed what? 150 wood, 50 wood, 50 wood. That's not going to cut it, folks. That is not enough value found. He actually didn't even pay for one of the rams with that move. And Darius, he's just getting stronger and stronger. Lenok, unless you fall back for some sort of a pivot, some transition, it's hard to see how you're going to win with this strategy. He has got a lot of farms set up. He is also getting additional wood income now going into the double broadaxe. But no signs of teching up. Like, that's maybe his one edge he could have had here. Instead, Darius is going to continue to build his lead. He's going to push you away. And when he does, this is the issue with forcing an opponent defensive like this. If you can't keep wiping their army, once they do break out, they instantly have an army to get aggressive with. Archers pushing in. Knights switch over to longbows, force them away. That means these archers are just unhindered. They're not being assaulted at any point. The attack speed buff is slowly disappearing here as another outpost is going to fall. Lenok, one big boot away from being kicked off the high ground of Darius. That's the renewed assault. Barely any man-at-arms left. Lombo starting to rebuild, though. And Darius, I'm noticing a weakness here. The food, the food! Uh-oh. Where is his food? Darius, no! Darius, no! Worst case scenario. He has no food gathering right now. He can't get knights out. He doesn't have an answer to the Lombos anymore, and now he's being butchered. The food is only being gathered here on the front line. And that is not going to be good enough. Gets one knight out. That might be all he gets, though. That might be all she wrote. Just a few man-at-arms to keep him at bay. And it was looking so good for Darius, but we see the weakness. This is the problem. This is the oppression. Lenok, he might be economically behind on villager count, but he's not on gathering rates. He forces this transition now. Darius drains his wood supplies to switch into farms, but this needed to come sooner. And you have to question, is this going to be too late? Because Lenok with a renewed assault, the second breath of life, barely any archers left. The army is shrinking so fast here. And it's so well identified by Lenok. Yes, he gets raided. Yes, he loses some troops. Yes, Darius is growing. But where is it growing to? He's a plant 5 times too big for his plant pot right now. He's overflowing. He needed a 500 milliliter cup, but he's only 100 milliliters. But that tap is still pouring. And the tap is pouring villagers out. Villagers that do nothing here. Barely any wood left. Gold is getting low as well. This food is inaccessible. Lenok has pretty much done it. Like, away from throwing this game away, Darius is very much going to struggle to find anything now. His only move is to move out the deer. I'm surprised he didn't do this sooner, by the way. Like, Darius, to me, this screams of paranoia. Like, the biggest issue is that Darius, the reason he doesn't go on this deer, he did spot it, but the reason he doesn't go on it is because he walled himself in. He already showed his paranoia to us. When he done this, his assessment is that Lenok's going to raid him there. This doesn't logically make sense, though. If we play by implied odds of civs, the English don't come at you from multiple angles. They never do this. They are very much a crawl around. The only way he's ever getting to this line is if the outposts continue to crawl up. So the fact that Darius never went for these deers, it's just him being scared of the boogeyman, right? The creepy dude in the closet that is a figment of your imagination. It's just not there. The threat doesn't exist. And instead, you're the biggest enemy yourself here. And so many more villagers going to die. Has to peel him away. Ram goes down, but I mean, it's paid for itself, the amount of villagers dead here. Darius still without food. And this feels unapproachable anymore. Yeah, you got outposts to defend yourself, but how much idle eco? Look at it, 40 idle eco. And he finally makes a move onto the board. No! Oh, God. Darius, it can't get much worse. He can't access his berries. He hasn't gone for the deer. The boar has been killed right next to a tree line, which means that actually only 5 villagers at any given time are able to gather from it. Sorry, 6. And 6 villagers on a boar is not going to save you. Lenok's up at castle now. It's all over. No easy way back. He needs some sort of switch up. Like these farms, like he's built all these and they don't work. Oh, Darius. Baby boy, we got so much to talk about. It was looking so good. He done such a good job of holding. But he panicked on the food. He didn't adjust for it ahead of time. And when he did adjust, he done it in a panicking fashion. That's what these farms are. Had he built these farms next to this TC, they'd be gathering right now. But because he built them at his frontal TC, he's getting nothing out of them. And instead of Ram is killing them. Oh my God. Guys, if you ever want a quick way to get your value out of a Ram, this is it. A Ram costs 300 wood. With 2 hits, it's killing a 75 wood structure. This Ram has already almost paid for itself simply by killing farms. And what is the thing that Darius is running out of? Food, yes, but now wood as well, as he still has not shifted any of his economy to the west side. And this is becoming perplexing at this stage. I mean, he built this area up to use it, and it hasn't been used once. Yes, you're going to have some idle eco running over there, but it's got to be better than what's happening in your base right now. Meanwhile, Lombos have been spending a long time getting through this mill. That's another structure down. More farms soon to fall. Don't ask me about the logic of how a Ram kills a farm. I'm not here to answer those questions. I'm here to raise those questions. But even though he's finally torched it, how many farms was that? That was like, what, 7? That's... I mean, that's double up on paying for itself. Like, it's doubled up on paying for itself because it's going to get 1 more before it dies, at least. So all these farms were built. So he lost at least, what, 8 farms, 75 wood each. It's a 600 wood investment. I think he maybe got 50 food out of them. Maybe 100. That is not what we call a good trade. That is definitely not alchemy. In fact, I don't think he'd be even allowed to be an apprenticed alchemist with those sort of conversion rates. The only good news for Darius right now is that Lenok is diving. I mean, it would be good news if he had reserves to rebuild the Lost Forces. And where's he going to run? He's fine. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. No. 38 villagers. There's not even enough room for them to build this. Darius is panicking. 38 villagers for this deer site. Yeah, I'm not surprised. Oh, my goodness. Darius. 2 TCs is still a throw.